All right, everybody, welcome back to the Financier. Thank you. Happy New Year for everybody who's attending. I'm very excited to be here today. It's been an exciting 2020. Great start to 2021. Today we'll just go over a couple clips on the recent newsletter I just posted on LinkedIn this morning. We'll do 10 surprises for 2021, and then I'd love to hear your thoughts, what you're seeing in the markets, what's on your mind, and then whatever's come up in the news. I know lots happened last night, this morning, this week. There's a lot going on. So why don't we get it started? Um, no surprise on anything on 2020. It's been a turnaround year for everybody. There's no way that starting in January last year, you would have known that the markets would have closed, multiple countries would have closed across the world for not just 24 hours, but more than 24 weeks. Still going on today, but surprising that the markets, January to January, if you just invested and closed your eyes, you would have actually made 16%, and you wouldn't even have known that a pandemic had taken place because the S&P 500 closed up for the year. Um, Next, I'll talk about the vaccine, what's going on for 2021. So first up, uh, Bill Gates had mentioned this outbreak in I think it was 2014, 2015, several years ago, that this impact a disease would be spread out across different countries at the same time, and we would never be ready for it. I still think that's the case today. It's amazing that from March till I think it was October, it took about that time span, maybe about 7 to 8 months, to really figure out the disease, create a vaccine, and then create now a few months afterwards the distribution and delivery of it, which is stalling. But it's a record breaking time. I think if another pandemic happens in a few years or something else happens, there's no way to really backstop this case. There's no way to figure out no precautionary measures against that. So, um, first up, vaccine. Sorry, COVID came from Wuhan. That's not a surprise, given the fact that it's the international trade capital of the world. There's a lot that comes out of the country and goes to everywhere else. Obviously, we still get a lot of supply chain from there. So it's possible that another type of disease can come from Asia, given the size and the exposure the country has to everyone else in the world. So if you haven't already, healthcare workers have already started getting a vaccine across different areas of the country, depending on what level of healthcare worker you are. And now I think seniors are also getting it as well. So it's pretty big miracle, I think, that this happened so quickly, so fast in a very short period of time. But the real miracle in America was that small businesses were able to get not one but two stimulus packages within less than 12 months. The first one happened in that April-May timeframe. It took about 30 days in that May period for Treasury to figure out what's going on, for the Fed to come put a plan together, lower interest rates, keep the economy stable, and small businesses received hundreds of billions of dollars in loans, grants. People received large stimulus checks for that time period. It's the first time we've ever done that in history. This time around, we're still figuring out whether it's going to be $600 or $2,000 per person, but it's the first time we've ever done this. It's been pretty. It's pretty. To me, it's amazing because no other country has been able to deliver this amount of capital so fast into the hands of individuals, whether it's checks, bank wires, whatever the case may be, through the tax and financial system. So it's pretty awesome to see this. It's nice to see that we kind of have a system in place to keep doing this. So it'll be exciting to see what happens next in the future. But I think this time around, there are a lot of businesses, there are a lot of lockdowns still taking place in major parts of California and New York and other coast cities, and that $1 trillion isn't enough for these companies. There's so much more that needs to be done. Um, Lockdowns aren't going to save any of the retailers, the restaurants, hospitality businesses. It will bankrupt most of them. And in 2020, we saw record number of bankruptcies across the country, which I think will continue to happen going into 2021. And then the major thing was that the vaccine took place was delivered right before, or actually right after the election, but it was actually announced a few days before. They just didn't make it publicly available. They had the press releases ready. It's pretty amazing that the pharma companies did such an amazing job, not just one, but several. And then they made sure they didn't want to interfere with politics, and they got it out and rapidly delivered it across America. And now I think there are millions of vaccines available. It's pretty cool to see this happen in such rapid pace. So what's up for 2021? First up, the Roaring Twenties. I think this is the start for a new boom cycle. Last year has been really tough on the travel business, hospitality, oil and gas. Several industries have really struggled in 2020, and even with rescue packages, it's not enough to save everybody. There are a lot of people still unemployed. Coming out of this, we're going to come out very strong. There's going to be a lot of upside. Obviously, there's a lot of pent up demand to go travel, to go spend money, to go spend and meet people. The political landscape is changing. There's a lot that's going to happen in the administration in a few weeks, and in the White House. So this is pretty cool to see that I think that change is actually going to increase maybe relationships with other foreign countries. It's going to increase the stimulus package, may increase the debt load for the country, but I think we'll have a nice change. Paul Graham from Y Combinator mentioned that this administration, moving from one to the next, will be like shutting down a Chrome browser because it saves so much mental memory in your mind from not worrying about what the president is going to say or what's happening in politics. You're kind of focused on your business and what's happening over there. And then my last prediction for 2021 is I think a new social media app will rise. We've already seen TikTok actually take off in the last 18 months. It's become the most popular social media app on the mobile phone. It became front and center with politics and China when Trump was trying to do the largest political M&A deal in history. So it's interesting to see this happen for the first time. There's free publicity for TikTok. I think the app now has over 5 billion downloads, making it a dominant social media app. And what I think is missing from the social media experience at the moment is an interactive e-commerce channel. So what we used to see with Home Shopping Network, QVC, and anything else like that, these apps haven't figured out how to make shopping interactive. And last year, e-commerce reached an inflection point. It was the first time we've seen such high growth happen. 10 years worth of growth happened within a few months. So I think the interactive e-commerce platform is probably what will take off sometime this year. Celebrities, brand partners will go off. Mr. Beast did this with Mr. Beast Burgers, Cloud Kitchens. Use their marketing and brand name to say, hey, this is what we like. We're selling this. We're behind this product. And they could sell tens of millions of product within minutes. This happens in Asia a lot, in China and Japan. So it's only about months, maybe a year away, happening in the U.S. I think it'll work really well. It'll be pretty exciting to see what happens in the interactive e-commerce space. There's a lot more potential left in this space. And to wrap up, I'm actually going to go over Byron Wien's 10 surprises for 2021. Byron is vice chairman of Blackstone. He manages their asset management part. He's been doing this for about 10, 20 years. He does a really good job of breaking down what he thinks are high probability surprises in 2021. I'll just quickly go into them. A couple of the additional surprises he has as well. But we'll go down the list. Anybody that's watching, feel free to just comment, chat, message me. I got all my phones live right now. I'm looking at communicating and commenting to anybody who's responding. So feel free to chime in. First of the 10 surprises, former President Trump will start his own television network, and I think he'll plan for a 2024 campaign. I'm with this on Byron. This is a high probability. I think Trump will go out and do weekly interviews on the heads of states and CEOs and continue to build his clout in the economy. He's got a large brand name. He's going to monetize it the best way he can. He's done this before with his show. So there's a lot more in store. Second is President Biden will actually restore relationships with China. At the current moment, we're not easy with many international relationships. Obviously, you saw what happened with Jack Ma from Alibaba. There's a lot of animosity right now happening in China and in Asia. So I think President Biden will be good for foreign relationships. Byron believes that a new vaccine will now become the new normal before Memorial Day, which would be a record to see it get displayed. I think 80-90% of people will have the access to it. I'm in the younger bracket, so I think I'll have access to it by May. So that's great. We'll get rid of the signs and symptoms if you take the vaccine. So it's a really good idea to get a hold of it. He believes that the Summer Olympics that were postponed last year will actually be held in July this year, and people will be allowed to attend in person, which I think that the vaccines out there, people will be very excited to attend and do everything that we used to do in the past. Fourth is he thinks big tech monopolies will just go away. The Justice Department will soften their case. I don't think that the government has had a strong case against the big tech companies like Google and Facebook. So I'm with him on this one. Hospitality stocks, number 5, will come and bring back the economy. They will outpace or grow in line with the tech companies. I think this is the biggest turnaround opportunity going into 2021. A lot of these hospitality, airline, travel, restaurant related companies have been in a deep trouble, and they can only go up from here. So I think that's an easy win for 2021. Number 6, modern monetary policy will become the economic new normal. We are fighting with inflation. We're fighting with a large balance sheet. There's a lot that we haven't been able to control, but as inflation increases slowly, I think interest rates will increase bit by bit, but there are no hard predictions for another 2 to 3 years. Number 7, energy companies will make a comeback. Oil prices have already begun to rise from the negative oil pricing in April, May, June. I think with oil prices going over $65 a barrel, we'll see rig counts increase. Energy and high yield bonds will increase, and the stocks will just become better performers in this year. So that leads up to number 8, where cyclical companies will actually begin to outperform. Before we had a lot of these growth companies, Zoom and Slack, and all these guys were really doing well because everybody needed remote work and whatnot. But now we'll see a lot more from the guys that were poor performers start to outperform in the upcoming year. Regarding number 9, for economic policies, treasury yields will also begin to rise. We'll get closer to the 2% for the 10-year yield as the yield curve steepens. So there's a lot more in play. That's going to follow inflation, which will take place. This will help. The Fed wants to strengthen housing and auto, continue to fuel the purchasing of the American consumer. So this will happen, and this leads up to number 10, which the U.S. dollar will actually become stronger coming out of this recession. There's a lot that will come from the post-vaccine. There's a lot of more spending that will happen in 2021. We're in a better position than Japan, Europe, and other countries. So we'll continue to have a positive carry trade going into next year. There's a lot more in store for the United States. The biggest surprise, that's number 11, is I think a cyber attack is real. A lot of companies aren't prepared for it still. There's a lot of information that's floating around. I don't know where it'll come from, who will be attacked, but I think that will be the biggest surprise. My personal prediction is that maybe one of these either hospital or banks will probably be under attack as they're still transitioning. It may not be an A player, but it may be a B player that's still trying to transition their systems from on-premise to cloud and trying to secure information. There'll be some leak along the way. So those are the 11 surprises for 2021. Thank you for everybody tuning in. It's been a good run. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to continue to drop them on the sidebar. Until then, subscribe for the Financier. We'll have our next newsletter coming out very soon and more content available on all platforms. Until next time, I'll see you guys.